Hey guys, quick presentation today. Before I take off, I'm going over to see a client to probably revolutionize his business. We're about to do something starting today that I can tell you it's gonna be a different business for him starting tomorrow. But before we do that, I wanna talk about metrics. Let me write that bigger, metrics. The title of this little presentation, I'm gonna try to keep it short. Metrics and Khant's truths and the secret to predicting the future. Okay? This is as close as we can get to predicting the future. And if there was ever a way to predict the future, this would be it. It would be it. Okay? So let's talk about metrics. Okay? Now why am I saying Khant's truth? I'm gonna talk in business very much. So, but that would be an interesting talk. So maybe one day we'll talk about that. So basically, Khant said numbers, right? Math. If I can spell today, geez. Numbers equals truth. Okay. And I agree. And definitely in business, I agree. So metrics. Khant says the only closest thing to reality is math, numbers, right? So what are we talking about here? And the reason I'm bringing this up is because I have some clients that are, or some prospects also, that are sort of concerned about, well, how's this going to work? You know, what is the return on investment on this? How much money am I going to make to this? But with the new age of, for example, let's just talk about general, and then I'll talk about how it applies to digital advertising, which is what I've been doing. So basically, all you need is to calculate the variables. Really. I mean, the truth is, you would know anything in life, right? You want to know the hardest questions to life. When will you die? All right, that would be a bad one. But what is the meaning of life? But it all boils down to this. Variables. See, if I were to put this little number here, let's just say 4 plus 4 instead of 2 plus 2, which is what you, right? And then your brain instantly would know it was 8. It's not like you predicted the future, right? It's all, the only thing that happened here is that you knew what 4 was, you knew what 4 was, you knew what plus meant, so you could come up with the result. That's it. So in life, of course, the problem is that there are more than 2 variables. There are more than 2 billion, 2 trillion, 2, I don't know, gazillion, right? Variables. And they're all, and they're x plus y divided by z, and then to multiply to m to the power of s, but if you somehow could come up with each one, and you would just plug it in, and you would come up with the result, right? So you might be a religious person, right? You might believe in God, or you might not, but if that would be how God would come up with how things would happen. Why? Because he would just know the variables, and all he has to do is plug in the numbers. Boom, right? And so, why is this important for us in business? Well, it's important for us in business in all areas of business. But let's talk about the area that I'm mostly involved in, and I'm going to tag some of you guys that I've been in contact with me through Facebook and things about business, about me helping you guys revamp your marketing and really be effective. And it's through metrics. This is how we do it. This is not a guessing game. It's not a guessing game anymore. Before it used to be, you would just put an ad and just wait to see what happens. But now it's not like that at all. Let's do. So metrics. What are we talking about? So for example, if I can spell today, that would be great. Metrics. So what are we talking about? We're talking about these guys. For example, KPI. A KPI is a key performance indicator. Key performance indicator or index. Okay? That's what a KPI is. So let's talk about this KPI. Sometimes I ask my prospects, what's your CPA? And they're like, what? If we are in business, we cannot afford not to know what CPA means. CPA means cost per acquisition. Acquisition of what? Acquisition of a client. Acquisition of a sale. Acquisition of a gig. Acquisition of a girlfriend. Acquisition of a house. Acquisition of a deal. Acquisition of whatever your client is, right? So you need to know how much money it costs you to acquire a fan, for example, right? And somebody might say, well, I don't pay for fans. And I'm here to tell you that we all pay for fans. We all pay for customers. We all pay for clients. We all pay for gigs. One way or another, we're paying. Is it our time? Is it our effort? Is it our videos? It always costs money or time, but time is more valuable than money. So if it's costing you time, lots of time, you might want to pay money instead of your time. But that's a different presentation, I guess, right? So how do we structure this? Well, we create what we call benchmarks. Now we do these through experimentation. Really, we can only do it two ways: experimentation, or somebody else tells us the answer. So how can we say this? Or information from somewhere. So these are how we create the benchmarks. Now, what are the benchmarks? Benchmarks are the KPI numbers or the ranges that we're looking for. So for example, how many people, and I already talked about this in a previous video, how many businesses do you have to go to before you get a job, right? So you might not know that if you go to one place. You're not gonna know that. You gotta experiment a lot. But if you go to 1,000 places and try to get a job, you're going to know around how many. Is it 10? Is it 20? Right? And you create that benchmark. So let's now narrow down to the specifics, because this video is going to take longer. The specifics in marketing are, for example, these. Just an example. I mean, this is not everything, but for example, how many let's say in digital advertising. This is why digital advertising is powerful, because when somebody was browsing a magazine back in the day, right? I have a magazine right here. This is called the Frisco Style Magazine, okay? And I have this little post-it notes here that I was looking through, right? And so in this magazine, right? Look, for example, here there's an ad about a mammogram, right? There we go. So they don't know if 1,000 people look at this ad, there's no way of knowing that. But in digital advertising, if 1,000 people see it, we'll know. So this is why I like digital advertising, because you can really narrow it down and really optimize to what you want. So for example, I put an ad, right? That ad gets what we call impressions. So let's say 1,000 impressions. Right? An impression is that it's presented to a client or a prospect or somebody, a human, right? So if you go to Google and you type in whatever carpet cleaner, and then you pay Google to for Google AdWords to put your little ad there at the beginning, and if it just presented to you, that's an impression of an ad. So 1,000 impressions. Out of 1,000 impressions, let's say you get 500 clicks. Okay? So let me hear impressions. Impressions. Gosh, sorry, my handwriting's terrible. And then 500 clicks. Okay? Out of the 500 clicks, you get 100 opt-ins. So for example, you have an ad, and in this ad, you go to a page, and this page, and you've seen these before, right? It says, give us your email address, and we'll send you a coupon for a free shampoo for your carpet. I don't know. I'm not in that business, but that's something, right? So you want to give your clients something that is worth them giving you their email. So just think about it. What would you give your email for? If somebody said, give us your email and we'll think you're awesome. That might be worth an email, but that might not worth the email, right? So then you go to 100. 100 people decide, yeah, it's worth the email, so now you get an email. Out of those 100 emails, let's say 10 of them buy your carpet cleaning system, right? And so that carpet cleaning system is be worth whatever, right? So here's how it works. So 10 of them buy. So what you need is 1,000 impressions per 10. And then once you do this a lot, you start to get to know very close to precisely what you need. And so your question is, well, how much money do I need for 1,000 impressions? Depending on the platform, depending on many different things. You might need, I don't know, let's say you need 500, right? So 500 divided by 10, right? That's 50. So your CPA is $50. Of course, that would be like an awesome CPA, right? Especially if your carpet cleaning, costs like, 500, and that would be a 1,000% ROI. So that'd be nice. But anyways, you see how, so you start tracking it, and this might not work out all clean. You might have to pull out the calculator. That's okay. The idea is that you start to get to know what you need. So the secret here is metrics, guys. This isn't guessing game anymore. This isn't like, we're not playing around here, okay? So I'm gonna tag some of you that have some questions on this, and this is like very clear. And is it a carpet cleaning? And for example, in my business, a lot of times is a catering client. How much money does it take for us to put in here to get one wedding over here? Right? Now, if the wedding, if we're charging, I don't know, 10 grand for the wedding, let's say we make out of those 10 grand, we make, I don't know, 6 grand of profit, right? The question is, if I put in here, even if it's $2,000 to get $6,000, would you do that deal? If I said to you, give me $2,000 and I'm going to give you $6,000 back, how many times would you do that? As many as you could. That's the answer, right? So that's what you want. And it's all through metrics. But if you have no clue what this is, if you don't monitor it because maybe you don't have time, if you don't monitor it because you don't know how, you don't monitor it because you're too busy doing the other stuff, which is, a lot of my clients are that way. I mean, in the food industry, there's like a million gazillion things that could go wrong every day. And so they don't have the time to be figuring this out. That's why I said, look, let me be part of your team. I'll take care of this. We'll optimize this machine. I call this a lead generating machine here. We'll optimize it. We'll know exactly, or pretty close to accurately, what we need to stick in one end to get good on the other end. Now, if your margins are really low, if you're selling, a $10 product here, and your margin is, $2, then it might not make much sense to do this right off the get-go. right? There will be other techniques, other things that you could do to make this really worth your time. But it still will be reduced to knowing your metrics. The more you know your metrics, the guys that are doing the best are the ones that know what's up with this. Because there's no guessing game. And I already talked about this, and this is the way I look at it every month. Every month I have a certain goal of everything. Even not necessarily business like ad sets, but like getting clients, for example. And then I know about how many people I need to be in front of to get however many clients, and I just do it. The problem is that you're gonna get rejected a lot. You're gonna fail a lot. But see, you're not failing, and I already mentioned this in another video. You're not failing because 500 of these did not click. You shouldn't be thinking, oh man, I'm sad because 500 didn't click. And I'm sad because 400 didn't opt in. And I'm sad because 90, in the first example, because 90 did not buy my products. That's not how you look at it. You look at it, well, you're just filtering down. Really, a lot of these guys, let me tell you another secret. A lot of these people, a lot of the people in general, are not your customer. And you don't want them to be your customer. Like in my samples videos and everything, and some of you guys that have gotten those, I don't say, I'll say something like, I'm not the cheapest guy to work with. Because I'm not. I'm not cheap because I'm freaking good. That's the answer. So like, why would I have to? So like, I don't want people who are like, well, that's too expensive. I don't know. I mean, really? Like, is if I ask you to buy this car for let's say 50 grand. I have a car right out here. It's 50 grand. Okay, buy it right now. And then you're gonna be like, I don't have 50 grand. Of course you don't have 50 grand. But let's say this. I want to sell you that car for 50 grand. Oh, by the way, that car is a Ferrari. Would you find a way to get those 50 grand? I think you would. Because I would too. It's a heck of a deal, really. Like if I put an ad for the Ferrari out there for 50 grand in the newspaper, there would be a mob out here, right? I mean, there would be. So that's it. That's really how you should look at it. People always say they don't have money, but I have to give you another secret. Man, too many secrets in one video. People always have the money for what they want. That's it. So if you're seeking to really advance your business, you'll find a way. If you're seeking to really advance your body, you'll find a way to hire a coach. If you're seeking to find